Good evening, everybody, and I hope you are all well, wherever you are in the world, wherever you're watching from. It's a pleasure to a pleasure to be back, and I hope you can all see and hear me okay. I'm sure you can, because Richard is behind the scenes making sure that I can be seen and heard. So it's a pleasure to be back, everybody. SPTV, it's been a little while. I know I was due here a little while ago, and I can't remember why I didn't come on. I can't remember, but I'm here now. And for me, it's always a pleasure. And I know that the channel is so lucky to have some wonderful mediums and psychics who come on board and do some wonderful work. I've had the pleasure to work with a few of them as well, so it's always good. But don't forget, everybody, whilst you are here and you are on, make sure you say hello. Let me know who you are, where you're from, and so that I can say hello to you, basically. Because without you commenting, I can't see who's on and I can't see who's saying hello. And ultimately, when we start to work, or when I start to work, I won't be able to work with you. There's the First Lady, Terry Louise. Good evening. Hello, hello, hello. I hope you are well. Thank you for being with us. I don't know if that's Mia or Maya, but either way, it's lovely to have you with us. Thank you very, very much for being here. Excuse me, what? But yeah, it's exciting. Millie, I love that hair, by the way, Millie. That is fabulous. Thank you for being with us, as always, I'm sure. Helen Woodall, good evening, and of course to everybody else. So yeah, we'll keep saying hello to people. Whoever's names pop up. Lovely picture there, Natalie. Thank you very much. From Essex. I know I should probably know, because that's what most people do, but which part of Essex are you from? Tina Hennessy, hello to you. That's right, Sarah, watching from South Africa. Beautiful country. I've got friends out there, and I've got a friend out there who is cabin crew. He was out there just, I think, yesterday. Tina, you're from Southampton, a beautiful part of the country. I love going down there, and I'm down there usually once or twice a year as well. Sarah from Gloucester, fabulous. Sarah, I will be in your neck of the woods. I think it's September next year at the King's Theatre. Kathy, you're in Florida. Well, I hope you're well. Certainly with the news of Hurricane Ian, I believe it is. Ben from Leicestershire, good evening. Nice to see so many people. Lots of people on tonight, which is always good. Canvey Island, Dawny T. I've been to Canvey Island a couple of times. Love it down there. Bev from Leeds. Well, that's where my hubby's from Leeds, so we're not too far from there. Another one of my favourite places. Sue from Melbourne, Australia. There's two occasions I should have gone to Australia when in my say younger life, when I was a travel consultant, and both times never happened. The first time I was too young, and the second time I left the company. So yeah, but hopefully we'll be down there. And the lovely Veronica as well, who has joined us. So so many people are on board tonight, so it's nice to see you all. So, and Natalie, Holland on Sea, lovely jubbly. So, I will keep saying hello to people as Richard brings up the names as well as and when. But listen, tonight it's an opportunity where we can get together, of course. And Kate from Liverpool, hello to you. I love that city. And there is one of my favourite bars there, but we got thrown out, so I shan't say where or what. So, so yeah, Joanne, hi from Birmingham. I was in Birmingham this weekend. I was at Birmingham Pride. Sarah, you'll have to come to the King's Theatre. I think it's September. I'm there next year. So yeah, we should have been there this year, but again, it was because my other half, he had to go into hospital, so that's the reason why I couldn't go. But yeah, so I was in Birmingham Pride, everybody. If anybody's been to Birmingham Pride, please let me know. And it was absolutely fabulous. And if it's your thing, I know for some people it may not be, but of course, Pride in any part of the world and any part of this country certainly is open to everybody. Lisa from Newcastle, I've been up there this year. I will be back there next year. A beautiful place to work. And Birmingham Pride, it has done me. Kerry, Exotic Coventry, I am there this month. I think the 20th or something like that. I'm there. Yeah, so I will be at, where am I going to be? The Standard Triumph Club I'm going to be. And Coventry's actually runs in the family. It's where my daddy's born and bred from. So, and of course, lots of other family members who live in Rugby, Bedworth, but they call it Bedworth. And you're from Oxford. Fabulous. So yes, whilst I'm still getting over, thank you, Bev. He gets the final results and everything tomorrow, so it's all over and done with almost. So yeah, it should have been later on in the year, but they brought it forward. But yeah, whilst I'm still getting over the antics of Pride, I was good, but it seems that there were quite a few people that have come down with some sort of bug, and I'm feeling the same, I must say. So I've drugged myself up, so I'm all good. I've got my herbal tea, so we're rocking and rolling. So the way, hopefully tonight will work, is that you'll talk to me as I talk to you. And when I do work with the spirit world, of course, it's important to put it out there to everybody that every medium works differently, but ultimately the intent behind what we do is very much the same, and that is quite simply to connect you with your loved ones in the spirit world who we know are still around and watching over us from the spirit world and the other side of life. And it's the opportunity for anybody to come through. So people go and see Tina. I will find that out for you where I will be, because it's a new address that we've got. So I will get that for you before the end of the tonight. I'm trying to think. It used to be Woolston Spiritual Centre, but it's now not there. We're not there anymore. We've moved. So I will get it. But for anybody who follows me on where is it, on Facebook and everything, it'll all be on there at some point. Definitely, I will find it out tonight for everyone. So yeah, basically everybody, as I say, we all work differently, but obviously the intent is that it's the same by bridging the gap between the two worlds. So, and of course, when people go and see a medium, and naturally you can't blame people, they have what I call their A-listers. So mums, dads, nans, granddads, aunts, uncles, etc. But of course, there's no guarantees as to who's going to come through. And I've done 1 or 2 readings today, where people that have come through to the people I've been reading for, they were like completely unexpected. And it's good when that happens in some ways. So if you do understand what I'm saying, please talk to me. Say, Craig, yes, I believe that's me. And usually, one thing we've certainly got used to over the last few years of being online is knowing when a name jumps out to us. So whoever I get drawn to, that's where I'm going to be going. So yeah, work with me. And the quicker you talk, the quicker you type, that hopefully the more people I'll get through. And I think at some point we shall be taking some questions as well. Leanne, seeing you at the Princess Theatre in Burnham, and see you. Oh, bless you. Thank you very much. Oh, I bet it'll be good tonight then. So yeah, beautiful theatre. First time we visited this year, and I will be back next year. I think it's June time. So yes. Good evening, Kerry. So yeah, please come and see me in Burnham again, because it's a fantastic theatre. It really is. So basically, let's see where we go, everybody. I'm going to move my awareness down to the spirit world, and then, like I say, at some point, because I know not everybody's going to get a message tonight. I understand that, but of course, it'll still be nice to interact with you somewhere along the way and maybe take some questions towards the end of the evening. So let's see where we go, because I know straight away there, friends, I become very much aware of a gentleman, and I know that as he steps in, he feels very fatherly to me. And before he passes, there's a feeling that there's all of a suddenness to his passing, but I do feel as though straight away I'm on the lungs. I know there's an emphysema pneumonia condition that plays a part, but I do also feel I've had a cancer condition before I've passed to the spirit world. And I have to say to you, I really don't feel as though I've reached a grand old age. If I'm in my mid to late 60s with this man, that's where I feel like I am. So who would understand this for me, please? I know I'm on the lungs where I'm with this. I also know that there was a cancer condition, and it feels from the point of diagnosis to the point of passing, it feels, like I say, it feels quite quick, because there's like it's like an unexpectedness, excuse me, an unexpectedness, and like all of a suddenness to his passing. But I know as he steps in there for us, he's coming through very fatherly as he steps in. So who would understand what I would be saying here, please? Oh, really? So Sarah, that's fine. So Sarah's understanding this. Richard, I know you've just said something there. So did you say that you could understand what I'm saying except the cancer? Right. And this will be dad to you. Right, then bear with me just 1 second. And then would there be also, because I know Sarah's just popped up there about the understanding, but it being her granddad, that's fine. But would there be the name of Terry connected here also? For you, Richard, yes? Right, then bear. And can I just check with Sarah that it's that she either would or wouldn't understand Sarah Terry as well. So because that's how it feels, you see. I just felt as though I just know there's a Terry connected. I'm not saying that it's his name, but I know I've got that feeling. And Richard, would you understand that your father, like being young at heart, also, like because even though I've talked about the age that I've said, but I still feel as though I'm a gentleman that's on the go. I'm always doing something. Does that make sense? Perfect. Now, I don't know if anybody else can hear you or not, but of course, that's fine. So, forgive me, everybody. I know this probably doesn't happen that often. Maybe it does. I don't know if it does. That's fine. So I've got to say, I do get drawn. Maybe whether or not it's because I'm hearing your voice, I don't know, but it just feels right that I'm talking to you. So sorry, everybody. Do bear with me. But as long as it's okay with Richard, I'm just going to work with him for a few minutes. Okay with you?
Just brought the microphone in so people can hear me at home. Hi, everybody.
Fabulous. So just after what I've said there, then obviously you've just brought the mic on. So if you could just confirm to everybody that you've understood what I'm saying.
I have, yep.
Lovely. Now, I know, and just going back to that for a second, and I know that as I'm aware of him, as he steps in, like I said, I've got that fun, I've got that laughter, I like a giggle with this man, I know with your dad, so I know I've got a great sense of humour there. You understand that for me?
I would, yes.
No, but he must be, shall we say, I feel like quite quick-witted. It's almost like an answer for everything, or like if you're trying to take the mick, he'll sort of be just as quick, if not quicker.
Yeah, he would do that. He was a very intelligent person.
Perfect. Now, the one thing I do know with him as well is that he keeps giving me the sense here that he was somebody that would be very much like what I would call a grafter, is what I want to say that. So I know that I'm somebody, if you want something in life, you've got to go out and earn it. You've got to go out and work for it. Yep. You understand?
That's true.
Now, would you also understand for me as well where he became, I don't necessarily want to say become forgetful towards the end, but where I kind of had to sort of stop and really think about what I was saying, because all of a sudden I just feel as though my mind is just slowing down ever so slightly.
That would make sense. I'm not going to mention it on here, but that does make sense.
No, that's fine. That's fine. Just like I say, and for everybody else, it's just yes or no. That's how it works for me, which is perfect. So, but as long as you understand that, because the way that he's coming through there for me is, he reminds me so much of my granddad in a sense that, and my granddad, bless him, he got on in life with his age, but he used to, I don't know why I'm doing the actions, but he always used to take the money out of his pocket, put it on the table, and say to my dad, "Tony, count that for me. Tell me how much is there." My dad would say, "You got £4.87, Des." "Oh, thought I had, just wanted to make sure it was all still there." And that's the thing with your dad. Why I say this is because he was somebody who, you've already said intelligent, which is fine, but I also know that he wasn't, I've got to be diplomatic on the words that I use.
Can I just interject here? Sorry. What you just did there, that's how he taught me maths on his kitchen table. What you just did.
Perfect. Even better. Excuse me. But I've got to use the word. I know that he's not daft. Basically, your dad. No. He was somebody. He just knew that kind of. Do you get where I'm coming from?
I do.
I can't really into thingy, but as long as you do. But I know, and the reason why he's saying that for me is because it's almost this feeling as if to say, "Will you tell him that I'm up and I'm about again? I'm up and I'm about again." Because the one thing there was with your dad is independence, and he never would have wanted and never did like having to rely on people later on in life. Do you understand that for me?
100%, yes.
And I know that there's a gratefulness that's there, but there's almost like an agitation. There's a bit of a frustration there with him in the sense that, even though at some point he would have had to have relied on family members to have done things and been there for him, and he knew that, that's where the sense of agitation comes in there. You understand?
I would.
Now, would you also know that he wouldn't have believed in this either?
100%. He would listen, but he was a Catholic. He wouldn't have believed in this.
Right, because he's looking at me as though I've gone out, basically, which isn't hard really this day and age. But yeah, but the thing is that even though he wouldn't have believed in it, or he wouldn't have maybe seen eye to eye with it, shall we say, there's still a feeling that he wouldn't have shouted the idea down. If you like, I still feel as though he would have. I know you say he would have listened to maybe what's going on, but I still feel as though he would have listened to you. So this being your belief, for example, and the Catholic being his belief, it's that feeling that you would have listened to each other. Do you understand that for me?
I do, yes.
And there's almost like that sense there where there's a proudness that comes through with him, a proudness that not just because of who he was and that, you know, he grafted and everything that he did in life, he provided for his family, but also the proudness to you as well, because excuse me, your dad was never half-hearted at anything, and neither are you, and that's why I feel that you are just like him. You understand?
I get told that many times by my family.
Fabulous. And I know that whilst I'm working there as well, I'm just hearing the song Happy Birthday in my mind. So there's two things I want to say there. The first one is, would you understand where in the family we've either just gone past a birthday or we're just about to approach one in the family?
It's my sister's birthday in about 2 days' time, 2 or 3 days' time. So yeah,
fabulous. Then he's singing Happy Birthday.
Yeah.
But he's also his daughter. So yeah. Lovely. And he's also taking me. I saw February, but I've just heard January, so I'm going to say both. So it feels to me as though February is also important there for a birthday or an anniversary, and then going back a month and the same in January. You understand?
That is correct. Yeah.
Lovely. And also, just before I do leave you, would you understand, and going back a while now, Richard, going back a while, would you understand for me where there was a child that never made it to this side of life?
Yes, I do.
Right, then, because all of a sudden, and just for everybody that's watching, usually when I become aware of my nan, when she steps forward, as she has just done there, I know that there's a child that's not made it to this side of life. So just in case anybody else gets a similar reference, you know what I mean. But I know there's a feeling here that, and we all know where we go to the spirit world, and that they're all there watching over us. And now, very quickly before I do leave you, do you also understand, Richard, there's a black Labrador in the spirit world?
I do, yes, I do. Okay. Yeah, wow. Yeah, you're the only person who ever brought him through. So, yeah, and I was a kid when my brother died, the one you got there. Yeah, so yeah.
Because I'm just aware of the black Labrador that comes in and barks and whoops there. But I know, I just know if the gang all coming together there, certainly your dad makes the biggest impression with me there.
Thank you, Craig.
Just as he steps in, it's that feeling that, you know what, I always say to people, there never has to be a reason why your loved ones come through. The fact that that your loved ones, they can. So please, and I do feel, I'm not so sure that I want to be like lovey-dovey in the sense that I'm giving you like hugs and all that sort of stuff, but I show you in my own way that I love you. Do you understand that for me?
Yes, he did, yeah.
Perfect, because I know with him in my mind, I know that I want to be a gentleman, I want to shake hands and that sort of thing, but I know he comes through, shares that love, but also shares almost like the excitement. So for me, I've got to say there that there must be things happening, like in a good sense, like doors opening, because I get an exciting feeling as well as he steps in. So just know that he's coming through to say that, know that he's here, and with that, I'm going to say thank you very much for working with me.
Thank you very much, Craig. That was lovely. Thank you. Bless you. Thank you.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. So for anybody that's watching, maybe for the first time, if you are a new person that's with us, do let us know, because it's always nice to see if we've got new people that are joining us. So that's how I work, everybody, pretty much. So like I say, sometimes I get, when we do this online, it's a poll that we get to. And of course, when we get a voice, sometimes that's right as well. So let's see where we're going to next. Forgive me for the coughing as well, everybody. Like I say, feeling a bit groggy. Anyway, so let's see where we go this time round. So I know straight away there I become very much aware of a lady that steps into my awareness. Now, as she steps in, she feels very motherly to me before she passes there to the spirit world. And I know that as she steps in there for me, I do actually feel as though I've got a lady with dementia, Alzheimer's, before she's passed there to the spirit world. But I feel as though it's quite a drawn out process. So from the point of diagnosis again to the point of passing, this time it doesn't feel as though it's such a sudden passing. It feels to me as though we've got You know, if I'm talking a couple of 3 years, I just feel as though it's something that's drawn out. It's how she's making me feel. And I know that as I'm aware of, I'm hearing mom, nan, mom, nan. So I know that as this lady steps in, I feel as though I need to acknowledge mom, but at the same time, I know that she wants to be acknowledged as a grandmother as well. That feels important to her. Would somebody understand what I'm saying, please? Because before I give lots more out, this lady's definitely talking. So, if any, say again, sorry. Oh, Lindsay, lovely. So, and Lindsay, would you understand that your grandmother would have been on her own when she passed, which tells me either physically she was on her own and or her partner husband would have passed before her at all, because she keeps giving me that reference there, you see. So if you do, just say again, yes, if you could, that would be fabulous, because I know as she steps in there for me, there's also this sense, and Stacey as well. Right. Then let me see where I'm going with this then, because the other thing as well there is, as this lady steps in, she's referring to a sister that would also be with her in the spirit world. She's referring to a sister as well, because I'm hearing the song Sisters. So would everybody still understand everything that I'm saying, please? And I've got to see where I'm getting drawn to as well, because there's three people that have been drawn to me: Stacey, Martine, and the First Lady as well. Where am I going? Talk to me. Around, on her own. Right. Was that a Bev then? Right. Bear with me, because that felt right then. So, and Bev, so you understand that Grandad passed before, like years before her. So that's so it's not lovely, but it's lovely that it's right. And also with the Alzheimer's as well, and her two sisters with her. See, that's the other person. So it's Lindsay or Bev where I'm getting drawn to, and Bev and sister is in spirit. And very quickly, show me where I'm going, because there's a sense as well. I need to acknowledge that when she passed, when this lady passed, she's talking about either, I'm not saying it's on the actual date, but she's making me feel as though either on or near to the day of her passing, there seems to be like some sort of celebration, like a birthday or another anniversary. So would that make sense to either Lindsay or Beth? I'm sorry to everybody else, I just don't get drawn there. But with Lindsay or Bev, would you understand where there's either another birthday or another anniversary, like a special one, either it was either on or near to the day of her passing? Because I feel as though there's something else that I need to acknowledge there as well. And I'm hoping one of them are going to say yes and the other one's going to say no. Yeah, Gran died after her sister's birthday. That's what I want. That feels right. I suppose I need to just wait 1 second for Bev, though, just to get that confirmed. Because where has Bev come back, by the way? No, it doesn't fit. Bev, as lovely as that might be, I've got to say to you, it feels better with Lindsay, only because the celebration feels as though it's connected to somebody else. You see, not herself. But I appreciate you working with me. So, Lindsay, I don't know if that's Kato or Kato, but Lindsay, if I can work with you, please, that would be fabulous, because this just feels right, you see there. And I know that so this is grand to you, but I know she steps in there for me. The way that she originally stepped in was like motherly. Not that I'm replacing mom, far from it, but it's almost like this lady, your grandmother, would have been like another mom to you. And I hope you understand this next bit. But the way she's making me feel there is, she was a little bit like Mrs. Brown out of Mrs. Brown's Boys. And I mean that respectfully. I don't mean necessarily for the effing and jeffing, but certainly for the fact, there we go. So, yeah, this feels right. But certainly for the fact that family was important to her, if you understand that as well, because that certainly feels right for me there, you see. So, if that makes sense, just put, if you want to, you can even just put a Y, just to make it simplify it for yourself there. Not a problem, I don't mind. Yeah, my name was like my mum, and yeah, like was fabulous. And as I'm saying it to you, Lindsay, as well, would you understand where there may have been one or two colourful words, just one or two, especially if you push the buttons in the right way, because that's how she's making me feel there, you see. And I also feel that as she says that to me, I also feel she was very traditional in the sense that even though she may have spoken of those words, she gives me the sense that she would have quite happily have washed out the children's mouths with washing up liquid or soap if you were to swear in front of her. So would you understand that for me as well? Oh, I hope that's right. I remember that happening too. Family was very important, fabulous. And the other thing, yes, brilliant. Now, oh, how far can we go on this, Richard? What have we got limits on what we can talk about? That's fine. That's perfect. So I'll put it diplomatically to you then, Lindsay. So, um, would you understand? I'll say it, Richard, and then you can tell me if I can or can't. But Lindsay, would you understand where there's a connection to somebody? I'm not saying who. I'm just saying somebody that you would know of that would have, let's just say, smoked natural herbs. Well, I hope so, because I do that well, just fine. I do tend to be quite. I always do my best to be diplomatic, but I just know that I've got a reference. I'm certainly not saying it's your grandmother, by the way. I just know there's a memory link here of somebody smoking, but I'm talking natural herbs. I'm sure you understand what I'm. Yeah, you do. Fabulous. And would you understand somebody that has their own little greenhouse, maybe? Because that's something else that I'm just very much aware of. And there is a point to where I'm going to go with this as well to you, Lindsay. So I hope that bit makes sense to you also. Excuse me, coughing it all down the microphone there. I know that as I'm saying that, it also feels to me there is a not just an actual evidential side to that. There's almost like a symbolic side to it as well. I don't tend to do that quite that often, but it feels as though it's important from your gran. Okay, lovely. I weren't going to say who it was, but there you go. Let's hope your cousin's not watching. But I know that grandmother's laughing about it. You see, it's one of those things. I don't feel as though she would have necessarily said, "Oh yeah, it's okay," and all that sort of thing. But I just know that she's referencing that there. But it feels to me here, that sometimes in life we all just need to relax a little. And I'm not telling people to go out and do it, by the way, everybody. So please don't take that from me. But I know that as your grand steps closer, it's the sense that she's coming through with that you're the one that needs to just sort of stop, take a step back, relax and lift this weight up off of your shoulders as well. And I just feel that there's been times of late, if I may say so, where maybe you've gone out of the front door, you've put a smile on your face to make out to the world that everything's okay, but we know that there's been a bit of emotion there. And I know that, so I hope that bit makes sense to you. But I know that as I'm saying it, I know you've got the strength of your grandmother within you, and as she brings that through. So I hope that bit makes sense to you. And then I can tell you this next bit as well. Excuse me, everybody. Um, 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 I don't know if she's typing or not, but hey, it sounds about right, can't we? Right, yeah, that's fine. And again, and I'll say to everybody as well, I'm always consciously aware of what we're saying and what we're talking about, especially on a public platform like this. So don't worry, I'm not going to bring out any big things because it's not the right place or time. But it's just important there, Lindsay, that your grandmother brings this through to you. Also, after she passed, would you understand where there was somebody that was playing with her hair or like combed her hair back of some sort? Because it feels here, as I'm sat here, I keep playing with my hair there, and it's this feeling of getting like having that awareness. So, would you understand that for me? And also the feeling that perhaps you may have that somebody just doing this down the side of your hair or down the side of your face there, because I keep getting that sensation from her as well. So would that make sense to you as well, please? Yeah, fabulous. Because it's important that your grandmother, because there's a sense there, Lindsay, that Part of the reason why she's bringing that through is because, one, she was thankful for it, but secondly, there's a feeling that she wasn't able to give that gratitude there, you see, as if to say, thank you, I know it was you, or I know you were doing it. So I know that she's bringing that through there to say thanks. Um, and also, one thing I do want to say as well, that I think I said this earlier on, but I'm going to say it again. But it felt as though that there was a reference of her husband coming to collect her from the spirit world as well. So she wasn't on her own on this. Well, she may not have been on her own this side of life, but I've said it now. But I know she wasn't on her own on that side of life, and I think it's so important to recognise that to so many people out there, especially when they've not been able to get to their loved ones, that loved ones from the spirit world have come through to do such that. So so yeah, so know that as well. I've got to tell you, Lindsay, the love that comes through from this lady is just pure beautiful. It really, really is, and I just know that it's something that's needed now. Keep talking to her, as she keeps saying that into my mind there. So keep talking to her as you do through your thoughts, but just know that she's there, know that she's around, and with that, she would have, oh, there you go. Then just please know that she's coming through, and with that, I'm just going to say thank you very much again there for working with me. So lovely lady to work with there. So thank you very much. And again, to the other ladies that were able to understand that, sometimes as mediums, you always feel bad when there are other people that understand it, but you can't go to them because it just doesn't feel right. It's just one of those things, unfortunately. So, but I appreciate you talking to me. So let's keep doing that. Now, I'm very much aware of a younger gentleman that steps into my awareness this time around. Excuse me. And I know that as he does step in there for me, there's a feeling that he is accepting responsibility for his own passing. So I know that as he steps in there for me, I know he's accepting responsibility for his own passing, and I also feel this went on a lot. What's going again? This went on a lot recently. He talked to her, Pix, and that you brilliant. My absolute pleasure. And of course, thank her. We're simply that conduit with a phone line. So my pleasure, Lindsay. And thank you for being here as well. So, and as this young lad steps in, I have to say, I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure that he would be family to you directly either, because there feels almost like a distance between you and this lad. And I've got to say, if I'm in my mid to late 20s, thank you, Bev. Bless you. It just feels as though that, yeah, I feel like that's where I want to be with this chap, like mid to late 20s. So, would somebody please understand what I'm saying about this young chap, please? So, as he steps in, I know I've got somebody that is, again, laughs and has a giggle in life. I'll go more into it in a minute until I get to the right person. But I know that he's accepting responsibility for his own passing. And wherever I pass, I don't feel as though I'm at home. I'm not far from home, but I just don't feel as though he's at home. That's how he's made. I'm not sure what his name is, Catherine. I'm just aware of this at the moment. If I get any names, then I'll naturally give them there. So, and Karen, you understand it as well, right? Then let's see where we go with this. And I presume Catherine could understand it also, right? So we've got Catherine and Karen. So, and then with on that basis, would you understand for me that he was, let's say, and I mean, that's fine, Millie. I appreciate that because there's some more that I need to give anyhow. But there's a feeling here he was a bit of a jack the lad. He was somebody that would, like I say, would have a laugh and have a giggle. But I know that I'm somebody that may have, let's just say, got myself into a spot of bother at some point through my life. That's how he's making me feel. So who would understand? And also I'm going to go with it again, and this is probably where it's come from the last reading, because I also know as I'm saying it, I know I've got that scent as well, so I know that I'm smoking, and I know it's natural herbs as well, so there's that connection there. So if you can, whoever understands it, if you can just put yes that you understand, that would be fabulous, and then I can see where I am pulled to. And right, there's a few of you, so bear with me a second. So we've got Lou, Catherine, I think that was. I've got to ask, right? Does it is there the lady Karen still there? Does she still understand this? Can we see? I don't know where her comment was, whether it was Karen. So, Karen, if you can just let me know if like all of that still makes sense to you. Is that a new yes from her, by the way? Right. I've got to say that's where I feel drawn to. It was just there. Again, nothing to anybody else, but not being rude to anybody else. But that's where I felt like I was drawn to. And can I just check, Karen, as well, that you? So obviously you understand everything I'm saying, which is great. And I just feel like I need to get this out once more. But that either he wasn't family, like as in blood related to you, or there felt that distance to you as well, because it felt as though I wanted to just validate that there as well. So I hope that makes sense as well. That's okay. No problem. No problem. I understand. I understand. Right, then that's fine, because it just felt as though there was almost like that distant sort of feeling there, as though I didn't want to be sort of like, even though obviously you're related to stepson and stepmom, there's just that feeling as though there wasn't that direct blood contact, if you understand. Because I know that as he steps in, that feels right for me. That does. I know that as he steps in there for me, like I say, a bit of a jack the lag, and I've already talked about the smoke and stuff like that. But one thing I do want to say there to you, Karen, is he wasn't a bad lad. I might be saying these things about him, but I know he wasn't a bad lad. He was a good lad. Okay, yes, there were times, but we all have that in life, don't we? Let's face it, nobody's perfect. Um, but unless your name's Mary Poppins, of course. But I just know that this is what he's bringing through, and I just and Karen, would you understand that he was somebody? Let's just say could look after himself as well if he ever had the bother, because there's just that sense that I can look after myself. I think I feel as though it's important to acknowledge there that he wasn't somebody that would have gone out looking for trouble, because I don't get that with him whatsoever. But I know that he was somebody, if he had to, he would have been able to have looked after himself. So I hope that makes sense there to you also. Um, I know there's a excuse me, teeth back in. I know there's a delay on that as well, so that's fine. Excuse me. Um, and also, I've got to say, there's almost like an impatience with him in a funny way. It's just like if he wants something, he has to have it yesterday, and he can't wait till tomorrow. It's almost like that kind of thing. It almost like feels like an exciting an excited kid at Christmas. Oh, can we just have one present now? That sort of feeling with him, you see, because I feel as though, yeah, perfect. I just feel as though that he was that kind of character. And also, I've got to say to you there that he was also somebody that I've mentioned it once tonight. I don't know if it was the last or another one before that, but where family was also important to him as well, because it feels to me here that there were maybe family members that he perhaps didn't completely see eye to eye to, but I just feel as though there's no hard feelings with that, with the way that he brings that through to me. But I know there's almost like so I hope that bit makes sense to you as well. But I know that as he's bringing this through, I get an emotion with him in the sense that he wasn't maybe always somebody that was very honest in the way that he felt, is what I want to say. But I also get the feeling here that family did mean the world to him. He just wished that he would have spoken out more, is what he's saying to me there. He keeps giving me this impression of like being sorry as well there. Now, again, let's point out the obvious. Yes, when somebody accepts responsibility for their own passing, they may be sorry for that. However, the way I get this, Karen, is the fact that of what he left behind, because it felt as though there were things that had to be sorted out after he passed away, and there's that feeling that he's saying sorry for that reason as well, because it feels as though that there are um, I need to be again diplomatic, because it feels to me here that there were people that perhaps weren't his family that were like family to him as well, and it feels it. But it also feels that there were family members that perhaps didn't really see him as that. I hope you don't mind me saying that. I always feel bad for saying that, but I can only give what I get, as any medium will tell you. um, and so I hope that bit makes sense. We'll get a validation on that first before I say this next bit as well. Um, unless that's it. I don't know if it is. Lovely. But I'd say the other thing I do want to say, Karen, is that it feels here that there's a lot of love and respect to you. And I know you told me, I say again, sorry, Richard. Lovely. It feels as though it's important that he acknowledges the love and respect he has for you, because it feels as though, I'm sure there were others as well, but because it's you that's having the reading, he's making me feel as though that you were one of the few that understood him. You were one of the few that understood him as well there. So that's where the gratitude comes through as well. And again, his words, not mine. I'm sorry I didn't be more open. I'm sorry I didn't speak more openly, is the sense I'm getting there from him as he says that. So know that that's the feeling that he's coming through with. And just before I leave you, Karen, would you understand that it was him that had the love of, like, I kind of don't want to just say bikes. I feel like I just want a love of speed, basically. Almost like, 'cause I'm seeing an F1 car, and I'm also seeing like motorbikes as well. It's almost like sports like that. So would you understand that there would be a love of that with him also? I know there are other people that are understanding what I'm saying as well, and I'll go on to that in a second. We were close, brilliant. So you understood that as well. I'm hoping you understand the bit with the speed as well, and the he did BMX racing, fabulous, fabulous. It's just that feeling of like, even though he did that, there's almost like a sense of that he liked other things as well. It's almost like, give me the speed, and I'm well happy. So um, I just feel here that as he steps in there for me, he's also just talked about as well there. I don't know if he has a brother, but he's referencing brother that's important, that's still here. And he's also referencing, or it's important for me to talk about, where somebody's looked at, and I'm not seeing all of the photos yet, but I'm just seeing where there's been a handful of photos that somebody's gone through with him in them. It feels important to acknowledge that as well, because it's his way of saying, tell them I'm around. Oh, and somebody's actually smelt those natural herbs as well, is what he shares me, which feels important. So just know that he says that to you also. So I hope those bits make sense at the end. But it's so important that he brings through and shares that love from the spirit world to his loved ones on this side of life as well. And I just want to get that last bit validated and confirmed, where I've mentioned like the brother, because it feels as though he wants to reference a brother as well there. Oh, excuse me. Um, his anniversary coming up. Okay, perfect, perfect. It's just important that, as I say, he pops in and he shares brother and sister, fabulous. And I'm not. It's not his. And it's important that I say there that it's not that he's sort of putting aside his sister, but he's just referencing his brother. And obviously, I feel as though there will be a reason for that as well. As though it's important right now that his brother knows that he's around and looking after him on that side of life, as he will, of course, his sister. But it's just important at this time that he mentions that. So please, please, please take that love, the joy, the warmth, and almost like the cockiness with him as well, but in a fun way as he comes in there. So with that, I'm just going to say thank you very much for working with me. Thank you, Karen. Just whilst, excuse me, clear my throat. Just whilst as we work there. So I know that there were a few people that could understand the bits with what I was saying at the start there, and I'm sure maybe throughout. I very much believe the spirit world are a world of intelligence, and for me, quite often and so often, and many of you who I'm sure have been to many demonstrations with other mediums up and down the country, and of course in different parts of the world. Um, I very much believe that, if I've got somebody, so we'll say in this context, if I'm doing a demonstration in a church, centre, theatre, hall, wherever it might be, and I've got somebody coming through with like the message that Karen's just had from her stepson, but then there's somebody else on the other side of the hall who understands what I'm saying. For me, it can be the intelligence of both, but there'll always be that one thing or one or two things where the one person will understand everything, and there'll be the one or two things where the other person doesn't. But it still does not mean to say that that other person's loved one is not there. So for me, I always say, if you go and see a medium, you put your hands up and the medium says, no, I don't feel as though I'm with you, I'm with this other person over there, but you can understand 95, 98% of what's being said. My advice, simply take what you can from it and just know that your loved ones are still there and they are around. Just because it's not coming to you directly does not mean to say you are not getting a message. I think it's important to acknowledge that as well. So I can't remember what time we finish, so I'm just going to throw it out there. But if anybody has any questions, whatever it might be, of course, I always jokingly say to people, I don't know what the lottery numbers are going to be, and I don't know where Elvis is either. So if anybody does have any questions, whether it be about your own development, maybe, I don't know, then please fire away. And I can still feel the energy and the presence of the spirit world, so I'm sure we'll probably get another message out at least, or if not, maybe more. We'll certainly see. But if anybody's got any, good evening, Rachel. Hello, 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 Rachel Galbraith. I'm hoping I'm saying that correctly. Oh, fabulous. What time? What time's she on? Oh, fabulous. We're doing adverts. Oh, fabulous. So can people hear me still? Oh, what are we doing adverts? Oh, that's all right. There's me thinking we're on some sort of ad break. I was gonna should sit here and have a cigarette in it. I don't smoke, by the way. So yeah, oh, perfect stuff. So Rachel's on tomorrow night, everybody, 8 o'clock. Make sure you come along, not only to support the mediums, but support the channel as well. You know, I don't believe, or I don't know if there is anywhere else that you can go to get what you get on this channel. It's fabulous. It really, really is. So yeah, if anybody does have any questions, then fire away and I will answer as best as I can.
Are you planning a paid spiritual event, or looking for something to do this weekend? Then visit myspiritualevents.com. You can browse the listing, view the event details, watch a YouTube clip, look at a mini gallery, select dates and times, pay for tickets using PayPal or your debit card. Organizers can register for free and start selling tickets within minutes, be it for their online or in-person spiritual event. As an organizer, you will have access to your own admin dashboard, which will display information such as your income and your bookings, all in a simple and user-friendly display. It's free to use. Join and upgrade to an organizer. Come and visit us at myspiritualevents.com.
My Spirit Life is a free online interactive magazine for those who have an interest in improving their spiritual lives. Authors can upload images, videos, and audio clips to their own articles. The public can place comments, rate the article, and follow the author. All articles are vetted before being published. For more information and to place your own article, please visit myspiritlife.co.uk. Rachel introduces her new show tomorrow night from 8 p.m. Rachel interviews some of America's well-known mediums and spiritual advisors.
Hello, hello, hello. We are back. We are back. So we were chatting away there, Richard and I, gossiping. And before you know it, he forgot to say, you are back. So I literally got 3 seconds warning, everybody. But anyway, so apparently we've got questions for the last few minutes. I've got to say, literally as we've gone for that break, I do feel a bit of a there. So Kate, do I ever do a show in Liverpool? At the moment, I don't, but I have been asked to go up there. Whether or not that happens or not, I don't know. But one thing I always say to people that are listening and watching, if you have a centre or you know somewhere that we can hire or we can book to come and visit your town, then get in touch. I know that Richard and Veronica have put all the details out on the events page for tonight. So you can contact me through my website, just using the contact us page, or via Facebook, whichever you find easier. So if anybody's got any ideas on where to go, send me a message, and if you just say, check out this venue, check out that venue, I'll check it out, and if it works for us, then I'll come and pay a visit. So yeah, please let me know. Joanne, okay, I saw something as a child, never understood what it was. Looked like a white gnome tapping on the window. I was 5. Do you know what this is, please? I've no idea. It's the first time I've heard that. I have to tell you the truth. I always say to people, that when we do this, everybody's different. And the funny thing is, there's 2 very, very quick stories. And I always say to people as well, and I'll say it to yourself, John, I would never sit here and proclaim to know everything, because I think there are other mediums out there that have probably had more experience over the years than what I have, and I don't believe that they would know everything either, because we're always learning. However, my sister-in-law works in a hospital when she's back off maternity leave, and she has seen, I believe, or she knows people that have seen spirits in, like, roaming the hospitals, but they've always been shorter, they've always been smaller, they've never been the same height. My uncle did the same thing. He saw my nan, his mom, many years ago, shortly after she passed, and again she came back smaller. So for me, who knows? It could have been, reading that, it could have been a child, a spirit of a child. It could be anything. I've got to say, though, I mean, Joanne, you might ask me that again next time, or if I ever see you on the road, come and ask me again, because by that point I might have more of an idea, but I really have no idea. I've no idea. But if anybody else has got any ideas, listen, we're all here to learn, so fire away, because you never know. So I'm sorry I can't be any more specific there. Catherine, I had a feather float by from the sky, no birds about, right into my hand. What does this mean? So let me ask you, let me sort of counteract back that with another question to you, Catherine. Who was the first person that came into your mind when that happened? Without thinking about it, first person that came into your mind, whoever it is. For me, I very much believe there are signs and symbols all around us. It's just that because we talk about the feathers, we talk about robins, we talk about smells and sounds, we recognize them a lot quicker than what we do other things. And sometimes it might be a little noise, it might be something's moved, but we're not recognizing it straight away. So for me, what it would mean, quite simply, is that there may be somebody around. Because you're outside, the first thing I would acknowledge, are there any birds? But obviously you said there aren't. So my next thing would be, what sort of feather was it? And for me, it will be a sign from the spirit world, quite simply. And also, the other thing to think about is, when it happened, where was you at, like, in your scenario in life? Was there something going on? Was it an emotional time? That sort of thing. Always good to be aware of as well, because for me, yes, it's great that the spirit will let you know that they're there all of the time, but let's face it, it's nice to know when there are times that perhaps are more challenging in life. It's nice to know that they're there as well. So I hope that kind of helps. But first person that comes into your mind, Catherine, as well. Do we have any more, Richard? How have I? I'm certainly not going to say I'm going to get through all these questions tonight, friends, but I think I'm back before the end of the year. I think there's another date in, is there, Richard? So by all means, remember, I will happily do my best to answer them as well. Say again, sorry. Yes, I do. I do offer private readings. I've got 2 appointments. I think there's 2. I might be wrong. I don't know if Claire's taken any other bookings yet or not. Literally, the last date of private readings with me this year is the 15th of November. And like I said, I don't know if there's 1 or 2 appointments left. So it's first come, first serve. And after that, it's January. So I've got, they are £50. Okay, no problem. Okay. There you go, everybody. So there's one of them just gone. So there's now 1 left. I will check, and I don't think I've had any emails through, so that's fine, no problem at all. Lisa, I always ask my husband to visit me in my dreams. However, whenever I dream of him, they are always horrible. Where he is with someone else, or he's pushing me away. Why is this? For me, straight away, I don't believe that your husband would ever come through and say to you, or show you that he's with somebody else, and maybe in the sense that you might be right in this, but also pushing you away. I don't believe that. For me, that could just be something within your mind. I would say with that as well. However, this is the thing, I I've dreamt of loved ones, as we all do, and sometimes we think to ourselves, you see, for me, you can also look at this, Lisa, and I might be sort of going a bit thingy into this, but let me just go with it anyway, because it might be that, and I'll go with this, so you can tell me if it's in the wrong context, Lisa. If I am, I completely apologise. But there's been a few people that I've read for in the past, and one or two that come to mind as I'm talking. A lady, two ladies, in fact. But yeah, so I've read for one in particular, and her husband passed away, and she's been to see me a few times, and it's always a lovely experience because she's a lovely lady, and she was always so worried that she was going to move on in life, and she was worried that perhaps her late husband, wouldn't approve. But every time he came through, it was one of the first things that he said. He approved. He was like, go and be happy. So I think sometimes, and we had a similar conversation to what you've written here, Lisa, is that sometimes, well, people tend to overthink as well, that perhaps they're, in their mind, because they're the ones that are still here living, and their husband or wife's passed on, that perhaps they shouldn't continue to live and be happy with somebody else, because you're still on this phase of your journey, on this phase of your life. So it could be on the opposite side of things. It might be your mind that's producing that thought process, you see. So it could be that. It's quite deep, that is, isn't it? But that could be that as well. That's how it feels to me. But I don't believe your husband would ever come through and push you away. If he was somebody that loved you and cared for you deeply, as I'm sure he was, there'd be no reason for him to push you away at all. So yeah, I hope that helps in some way. I really do. Any other questions, Richard? Right, let's have a look. So I keep having dreams that spirit family want me with them, but I say I'm not ready. What is this about, please? So you know what, for me, straight away, that tells me, so I'm not sure what journey you're on in life, like as in your work, and whether or not you work as a medium or anything, Diane, but straight away, that doesn't tell me what other people might see, and that's that your loved ones want you there. So to be completely direct, I believe that when our time's up, our time's up. I believe that when the spirit will need us back, we'll go. It doesn't matter how old we are, what happens, in the circumstances. I believe that when the spirit within, when our spirit knows our journey, our time here on this journey is up, it'll be time for us to go back. So obviously you're still here, Diane, so I don't believe they're ready for you yet on that side of life. However, let's look at it from this point of view. How about that they're ready for you to be with them on this side of life, as in the company, the presence? The times I have sat here, or the times I've been on a platform thinking, what on earth am I doing? Why do I not just go and get a normal job and just go to work, do my job, and come home again and earn my money, and just do that and be out of any drama or anything like that? Just do that. And you know what? Every time it's tried to happen, and I tell you, one time it did happen quite a few years ago now. I decided to go part-time in a travel agency, and the first day I sat at my desk and I heard a very dear friend of mine from the spirit world come through, and he just sort of leant over my shoulder and said, you won't be here long. I did 2 weeks, or 3 weeks even. I did 3 weeks, 4 at tops, and I left because it just wasn't working. Because I was either having to turn down like lots of work within my mediumship, and I thought, right, okay, I get it now. So from that point, I've never looked at it again. I've just thought, right, this is obviously where I'm meant to be. So for me, Diane, that's how I would see that, is that maybe the spirit world are ready for you to work with them. So that's how I would see that there as well. Let's take one more, Richard. Let's take one more. Oh, okay. Did they hear that? Oh, okay. Can I tell them? So the other thing as well that so Richard just made a good point there is, of course, because remember, dreams, the mind is such a powerful thing. Everybody, the mind is so powerful that like me, I was that excited to be going to Pride at the weekend just gone that the night before I was travelling, I was like a kid in a sweet shop or a kid on Christmas Eve, like waking my parents up at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning saying, "Let's go, let's go," and I was that excited. I went to bed and I dreamt about Pride. I dreamt about the people I was going to see there, what we were going to be doing, and yeah, it was chaos in a good way. So, but what Richard just said there is that in this context, it could also mean about neglect as well. So that's the other thing. So it's always good to maybe have a look. And I'm not saying that it's always the right thing to do. By the way, there are some wonderful authors out there that have written books about dreams and things like that. And I think that always go to somebody that's a reputable person, a reputable author. But sometimes people just go onto Google and sort of say, "What does it mean?" And usually, there's some good things that come up, but don't always take it literally. Is what I say with you with dreams as well. Diane, thank you very much. I appreciate your kind words. Thank you. So yeah, if there's one more, Richard, we can take it. Oh, it's gone. So, Maz and hiding. How come psychic says someone don't or are not ready to come through when you have been waiting years? So again, I always say to it, great question, by the way, but I always turn around and say to people, you know what, again, we don't know all the answers. There are so there are two things here. So, I mean, I always jokingly turn around and say, well, they probably don't want to come back and talk to you if they haven't come back through. But I laugh at that, so it's a joke. However, and I always find that it's important. So anybody that's been to see me work in person or for a private reading, I always do my best to work with humour and have a bit of a laugh and a giggle with it. But at the same time, I respect who it is that we are connecting and communicating with. So what I would say there is, again, and I can only answer questions and teach on my own experiences, but there was one lady a few years ago now, again, before the lockdown, who come to see me in Great Worley, and she sat there. She had a lovely reading. It was from her dad. He came through, and it was a lovely connection. And at the end of it, she turned around and she said to me, she just said, "Thank you very much, because I've waited 29 years for my dad to come through." She said, "And you're the only person that's ever brought him through." Now, it's important there to acknowledge that I didn't bring him through at all. I just simply sat and opened up my mind and said to the spirit world, "Right, I'm here, come and use me. Who wants to come and say hello?" And her dad was there. He was at the forefront of that, and he was there and came through. The fact that he's taken 29 years, the honest answer is I've no idea. Now, it could be that it wasn't the right timing for the person that he wants to connect to. In this case, his daughter. It might also be that it wasn't the right medium, to pass on the message that he needed to pass on. So there's so many different ways of looking at that. But the other thing is as well is that, excuse me, there was one year, again, we're going back quite a few years now. There was one time I was in Stafford and I was doing a sitting for somebody. And as I sat there, this was about 8:30 at night. I was giving this sitting to somebody, and it was this lady's auntie that came through from the spirit world. And as she was accepting this message, she said, "Yeah, I understand who it is." She said, "Can I just ask one question now?" And she says, "Can you tell me, is this a lady who's passed recently, or like been, it's been quite a few years?" And straight away I was like, "No, this is recent." I felt actually very recent. And she went, "Yeah," because she passed away at 10:30 this morning. So I've had somebody that's come through on the same day of their passing, but I've also had somebody that's come through 29 years after their passing. So for me, again, ask me in 12 months' time, I may have a different answer. And you know what? It's a good question to put to other mediums as well, because it'll be good to see what their take on it is. So for me, there's no right or wrong answer with it, but it could just be, what's right for one person, or what may be the right medium for one person isn't necessarily for the other. So it's one of those things where I think, and that's why I always say to people, when you go and see a medium, it's so important that you go there, and before you've gone, just send up your thoughts to your loved ones who you're hoping to hear from. But also keep an open-mindedness. And I always say to people, leave your expectations at the door, because you simply don't know who's going to come through. And by having that limitation, you're then in your own mind creating that limit to not accept the information, the evidence, and the person that is actually coming through to say hello. And it might also be, one last point on that is, when you're having a message, you might be thinking, yeah, I understand who this is, but this isn't who I wanted. It may not be, but it may be the first person that's come to say that, especially in a private reading. I did one a few weeks ago. There were two ladies, mother and daughter. They had 10 people that came through to them from the spirit world. And it was the last 2 people that came through that they wanted to hear from. But it was just that the other family members wanted to get in first as well. So, again, I hope that kind of gives you a bit more of an insight there as well. Go for it. Great question. Great. So, absolutely. So, did they hear that, by the way? No. So, again, a great point. This is something I can talk about for hours on end, because it creates so many questions. So, what about reincarnation? And I was going to bring this up actually, but I thought it might be not the time. But what about reincarnation? So, some people believe in it, some people don't. Do I? I'm very open to it, absolutely. And there are 2 stories. The first one is of a young lad in America. When he was born, he always, like me, loves aviation. You can probably see 1 or 2 behind me, planes that is. And he had but it was old planes. It was like Spitfires and those types of aeroplanes that they used to use in the war. Anyway, and his dad hung them all up from the ceiling for him, which was great. And then it came about that his dad was like saying, how is it that you know so much about these planes? Because he reeled them off, saying what sort of engines, the altitude, the speed they could fly at, and what they used to do. And he said, how do you know? And he turned around and said, well, I used to fly in one. And he said, that's how I died. And his dad was like, huh? Hang on a second. And he was like, that's how I died. He said, it was on this date, I was flying this aeroplane, and he reeled off his name on how he died, where he died, the day he died, the time he died, and how he died. And he also reeled off 1 or 2 other officers or other pilots that also died on during the same incident. And his dad thought he was just mental. And he did some research, and it turned out it was absolutely true. So it was like, well, there's a question then. So what then happens to that young lad if he's come back? Because I believe, there's maybe only one spirit, one soul. So therefore, how is it that that young lad has come back? But then what happens if he was a father to somebody before he died? That he could come back and give that communication. But then again, was he a father? But surely he was a son or a brother to somebody. So surely somebody would have wanted to have maybe heard from him. And the other one as well, just very quickly because I know the time. But if anybody looks up, it's a young lad. I'm going back quite a few years again now, but there's a young lad in Scotland. And he lived in Glasgow. There was an American doctor who flew over for it, especially because of the interest that he had. And basically, he said to his mum one day, he was only 5 years old, and he said to his mum one day, he said, when do I get to go home? And she said, what do you mean? You are home? He went, no, not this home, my other home. Anyway, did all the research and asked all the right questions and stuff. And it turned out that he lived on the island of Barra, which is about 45 minutes to an hour's flight from Glasgow, where you land on the beach. And anyway, so they flew across there, and as they were walking up this road where this house was, before they'd arrived, he described where the house was, he described the interior of the house, and he said where he died as well. He said, it was down there I fell, and when I fell there, I came to you. Again, back then he was a child as well, from what I can remember. It's been a few years. So again, it opens up a big can of worms, really, but in a good way. So there you go, everybody. That opens your minds up a little bit, I think. So I'm open to reincarnation. I won't disbelieve it, because I just think, I'm sat here talking to people who are dead, in the physical sense. But yet, how can we maybe not even be open-minded to that either? So one day we'll find out, won't we? So there we go. Absolutely. So to everybody that's watching, thank you so much for being here tonight. Thank you to Richard, Veronica, and the team as well. And I know there's lots going on the channel. So make sure you keep your eyes peeled. If you're new to the channel, keep your eyes peeled. Make sure you subscribe to the channel as well, and their pages and everything on Facebook, because you can see all of everything that's going on as well. There you go, perfect example with what Sarah's just said there. But again, everybody, certainly from myself, it's been an absolute pleasure and a privilege. If you want to see where I'm going to be, what I've got coming up, head to my website, all the W's, craig-morris.co.uk. All the details are on the events page for this tonight. We've got some online stuff coming up as well, like workshops and things, and literally a few events in person. And don't forget, everybody, if there is a town you would like to see me in, I know there was a lady who mentioned Liverpool earlier on, get in touch and give me some recommendations. Let me know, and it will be a pleasure to come onto the road and come and visit you when I'm out and about. But until then, remember, and if you want to, I hope you don't mind this, Richard, if you want to, if you go on my website, you might see just there, just about maybe. No, I was right the first time. My book, my very first book that I published, had published last year, which is my motto: we're here for a good time, not a long time. It's been thoroughly enjoyable to write. So if anybody wants a copy, I've literally only got about 10 or 15 copies left whilst I'm waiting for the new. Oh, hang on. Oh, hang on. I'll get this one. This is the first edit. So there you go, everyone. The handsome man on the front there. But yeah, so basically, say again, sorry. No, but literally, everybody, it's got so much. It's got loads in there. It's even it genuinely has even got photos in there as well, of people that have played a pivotal part in my journey. So if anybody would like a copy, you can get it via my website. Again, all the W's, craig-morris.co.uk. If you want, I'll even sign it. Apparently, it'll add about 5 or 10 pence to the value. But apart from that, you've been fabulous to work with. I look forward to being back. Remember, we're here for a good time, not a long time. Eat the cake, drink the wine, and drink the beer. Who cares? You're not carrying the coffin. And I'll say thank you very much, and I'll hand you back to Richard. Thank you, everybody.